Red Storm Rising by Tom Clancy. I don't know if you know many Tom Clancy books, but
We do, yeah.
So I think it's like contemporary to that book.
And then they turned it into a board game and Nerdfest.
Board game and Nerdfest, yeah. Welcome to Command Decision, the Team Yankee podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about action creep in new French lists after the new NATO book has come out, and whether or not there should be a split between early Cold War and late Cold War periods of get newer players more acclimatized with the point creep in the game. I'm joined by Usurper Nolan Schultze, as always, some of the top competitive players in North America and Oceania, respectively, to discuss everything tactics and miniatures. How you doing, fellas?
It sounds like you practice that.
That was completely off the top of my head.
I'm impressed.
You just take the intro from your other podcast.
I just,
I thought he was on the other podcast.
To be fair, I look like somebody that's so tired that he is also doing a Team Yankee podcast whilst also doing a PhD.
That was pretty close.
I kind of wish when during COVID, I had a gaming group with some friends just doing playing. Do you remember Worms? Like Worms 2, those games. It was
like was that early video game? Like
90s.
Apple IIe maybe even?
No, DOS, like DOS 90, maybe Windows 95.
That generation though, like early mid 90s type of thing.
Yeah, kind of. Like, it was basically like Artillery. Do you remember that game? But
is that the one? Is that the one where they all? Is that the one where they all climb on each other?
Yeah, and they all had like the little voices, and like one of them was like a fake Sean Connery and stuff, and he'd be like, "Yes," and you're like, So we played that like 4 rounds of it a week, every like Thursday night for 2 years during lockdown, and at the end of it, we were just like, if we had made this a podcast and streamed this, we'd be millionaires now, because it was like, I don't know, a rolling cast of like 8 people, and it got quite. Some people got quite sweaty and competitive, and some people continued to not really give a shit and just do it for the social side. And it had quite a funny dynamic as a result. Yeah. At one point, when sometimes people dropped off because of network issues, you just open the game up to like random people on the internet, which you can do in the LAN. You can basically have like a known list of players that you want to play with, and you can just like add in missing slots on Worms. Is it World Party, WMD, whichever one we were playing?
It sounds somewhat familiar.
There aren't all that many people that just hang out on Worms servers in the European time zone. So a few of these people that kind of we let in ended up being in several games over the course of these 2 years. But the first time we let in this one guy who's, I think, French, probably a teenager, and was swearing a lot in colloquial French. The first thing he did was looked at everybody's stats and then pointedly said to one person in our play group, I've looked at your numbers. How do you live with yourself with those numbers?"
That's too funny. Just FYI, like back in those days, you said you had like 8 viewers and you thought you might be a millionaire. I can tell you with our based on Game of Nodes numbers that those numbers don't work out exactly.
Yeah.
Doesn't really add up to 8 figures.
6 viewers, 6 figures, right? That's how it works.
That's how it works.
That's what I've heard. But yeah, if any regular viewers of the Podo who we actually know or who have been on it, or cast members would like a game of Team Yankee when they're in the UK, hit me up. I'll get out the West German village. We can.
It's like the world's 2 smallest Venn diagrams to chart across. If you A, watch this podcast, which is fucking small circle, and B, play Team of Yankees, I think you are the only one in the middle of that Venn. That's it. Could be.
Yeah.
Maybe null. Maybe Paul Mullen.
I think the thing is, right, the disposition of people who are into technology, especially like crypto, there aren't many people who are either sweaty enough on model making or sweaty enough on Cold War history to be like, what I really would like to do is make a period correct British armored squadron that is not from Second World War, from the mid 80s.
Just guys
that
sitting around drinking beer.
Yeah, exactly. That everybody knows about.
What are we doing today? Training.
Yeah, exactly. What do we? I will say this, right? When I was trying to work out like the color scheme, they're not actually that accurate. I didn't get it right at all because it turns out West Germany, there's two colors for tanks in West Germany. One is covered in mud, two is covered in frost, right? So none of the tanks are actually ever green. They're always like light gray with like kind of field dust, or they're just wet, right? In which case they just kind of run down to sort of brownish mud plus green, NATO green, basically, in all the photos from the time. But I found this short video about a training exercise in West Germany, and it is mad. They just go like, because they had to practice, and like this would be the land they were defending. It's just like there's some farmer's field, and there's just like 15 fucking German tanks, and then a whole unit of Abrams just like fucking hooning across what is obviously a planted field. And it's just like, well, that's fucked now, isn't it? Like,
I mean, yeah, I guess. It was funny before you said a set from the 80s, and I thought you meant that you picked up an actual figurine set that was created in the 1980s, but depicted something earlier. But you're actually saying that somebody actually built a set of that group in the 1980s.
Yeah, this guy.
Which, yeah. They're very colorful. They got like peg shoes or peg jeans and everything. You want like something 80s-ish.
Lots of green. Lots of shades of green. Lots
big
of
collar.
Shades of green.
Big collar's more 70s, actually.
Yeah, that's true. That's like slap chop era, isn't it?
Big hair. Big hair.
Big hair. I mean, to be fair, my old man had a fucking afro in the early 80s, so
big hair.
Yeah.
There you go.
Bit weird as he's my white parent, so he's just had this big old.
Is that how you refer to him?
Yeah. Yeah, well, white and brown. Like, how else are you going to refer to your parents?
Mom, dad, maybe.
I prefer to be like specific.
don't want to label people. Just the white one, just the brown one.
The white one, the brown one. Although weirdly, actually, my brown parent is whiter than me, so actually, I don't really have a. Anyway, welcome to Game of Nodes, a weekly podcast from independent validator teams. And
would it surprise you to know that I have no fucking idea what you're talking about?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't, because I can see it in your eyes. You used to get this glassy look, and you're doing stuff on the you're moving windows around.
You're obviously stuff working. We'll hear a Discord notification ping in a second.
Like again. Exactly.
I think they don't come through anymore. I think the like noise canceling or whatever. Fuck, I don't know. Whatever. Shut up.
It's not really Game of Nodes episode without some Discord ping in the background.
Yep.
Man, I'm like fucking. I got up early this morning. I drove yesterday for the whole fucking day, and then I just got home and died into bed. And then I woke up this morning. I had a meeting at 6, and then my fucking shower like immediately ran out of hot water this morning because I've run out of gas or something, and it's just been a shit morning. See, I feel sorry for the person I met with this morning. I was just like,
huh?
Fucking what? Where am I? What town am I in?
What was the drive yesterday? 13 hours or something?
13 hours straight. Stopped for diesel. Yeah.
Gas and piss. That's it.
Yeah. Gas and piss and some roadworks. So I did stop to do a node thing. I can't remember what that was, but I did it. I did it. It worked.
It's a blur. Some validator ops in there somewhere.
SSHing in on the hood of your car like a true degenerate.
My center console, like the bit where you lean on. It might be a little bit different in America. They've got like couches that you sit in your car, but in the rest of the world, our couches in our car don't have armrests like this. You've got to, lean on the window in the fucking
It's
center
seats
console.
now. It's happened. We're not
It's
all at
happened,
the
yeah.
fucking bench. Yeah, it's not like it's 1950 here anymore. We have bucket seats. It works.
So in the middle, like in my car, it's quite wide and I can fit my laptop on there. So
Yeah.
when I just sit it there, and when I was in the roadworks and just like slid my seat back and like turned to the side. All good.
So when that highway that you go for 13 hours, is that 2-lane or 4-lane? That's 4-lane?
So
two-lane
it's
for a lot
not
of it?
like it's not a straight shot highway. It's like back roads.
Okay. And do you see a
Yeah.
lot of cars going the other way, or is it like fucking nothing forever?
Nah, they're pretty sparse out there. It's not
you just-
like
And how fast are you going?
It's like Mad Max.
That's what I'm kind of working towards that, actually. How fast are you going?
the speed limit is 100 kilometers per hour.
How fast are you going?
The speed limit is 100 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, this is
How
what they're going to
fast are
bust
you
you
gonna
for.
go?
Yeah, the popo's coming down on Game of Notes.
Yeah, I
How
mean,
fast are you going?
You can get away with probably 20% extra for most of the way.
Oh, that's not very fast at all, is it? 120 is like what, 80 miles an
120.
hour?
Yeah,
That's not really.
yeah.
I thought you were doing like 110, 115 miles an hour.
The road is not good or straight enough to do that.
Oh, okay. That's too bad. It's
On
so
the
flat right
highways,
there.
you could, except there's just like cops. So
Yeah. I thought it was
Yeah,
more
and-
like West Texas here, where like or like most of New Mexico or even Arizona, where some of those stretches are so there's nothing there. They just the speed limit is 85, I think, miles an hour, which is what is that, 130, 140? What is that, Schultz? I can't do the math.
it depends on like 60. It depends on where you are.
Yeah.
If you're in the Northern Territory, the speed limit up there used to be open. So if you were not near a city or a town, you could just peg it and you'd be good. But I think they've changed it to 130 kilometers an hour, which is probably
Yeah, that's close. That's about the same. Yeah, I just did a quick search. So the fastest one here is 85, which is like west to like we'll be in Austin, right? Like coming up in May. If you keep going west of there, heading towards like New Mexico and towards Pacific Ocean, that's all 85 because there's nothing there. Like it's a straight shot. So that is 130. I guess it's 137 kilometers an hour. That's the speed limit. So people do 100, right? So you're doing 100 miles an hour. So you're probably doing like 160, something like that. You're just flying.
so in Western Australia, out like in the country areas in Western Australia, there is nothing there, and
That's it's like the Autobahn, right? Just like safe and
it's
prudent.
dead fucking straight. The roads are okay. They're not Autobahn roads, but they're okay. But when I used to work out there, I just would get a day off every 14 days. You'd get a day off.
Yeah.
And would go to like a national park, but they're like 400 kilometers away. So you'd
like a whole day just to get there.
Go out the front of the mine, turn left, put your foot to the floor until it stopped accelerating anymore, and then put cruise control on
for 3 hours. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a couple of hours later, you're at the national park.
Yeah,
that's
fun. So last week, dear viewers, remember that you were coordinating with a certain show guest. I was gonna say host, guest and friend of the show. I was gonna say co-host. Is it co-host? I don't know. That's a big head.
Intern? Co-intern?
You were going to see Rama, right? You were talking about doing a stopover. Did that happen?
Oh, Rama's not happy.
Why? What happened?
So I was going to go to a stopover. That way that you have to go is like another hour.
100 kilometers, you said, yeah.
Yeah, but what happened? So I ordered some hard drives, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, so they came
I had
last
to pick
week.
them up in a paper bag by the side of the freeway.
No.
Northern Territory in a bathroom.
So what happened last week before I actually went to Melbourne was I had a server here that I was rebuilding, put some new SAS drives in, and I drove it down to Melbourne last week in the back of the car.
Right.
Ratchet strapped into the back of the wagon.
Seems good.
Took it to the data center down there, plugged it in, and then I was doing testing on it. and one of the hard drives was bad. Actually, I realized that up here before I went, and then I had talked to the supplier, and the supplier said on Wednesday when I was driving down there that they would mail me a new drive on Wednesday,
Okay.
and the supplier didn't mail the drive until fucking Friday.
Okay.
So it didn't get to. It was supposed to arrive on Monday, but the fucking post person like bullshitted that they tried to deliver it because me and my partner were both home.
Yeah.
And we get this message and it's like attempted delivery.
Fucking
of-
liars.
And I'm like, you fucking dirty lying cunts. And then
I'm standing outside of the street.
fucking like, there's nowhere to park. That's why
Yeah.
they didn't attempt it. They probably drove past them.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, we've had that too.
I mean, when I say there's nowhere to park, we live across from an enormous car park. But
Did they
It's
write
like-
that there was no place to park? Or you just assume that?
no, just assuming. But
Oh,
there's a car park right across the road. Like it's a one-way street. There's a car park right across the road.
Was that on
But
Friday?
it was on a Monday.
Oh, so did they come back Tuesday?
No, so they took it to the post office, right? And it was too late to get. By the time they went to the post office, dropped it off. Mind you, the post office is a block away, but
Yeah.
they didn't
drove
do our
around.
delivery.
Yeah.
Drove around and did some other deliveries, then dropped it off at the post office like fucking 10 to 5, sent the message, and they close at 5. And I ran across there, it was too late. And so that was Monday, and I was going to go and drive on Tuesday, get up early and drive at like 6,
Mhm.
and then go to Rama's and have a beer, and then off home on Wednesday yesterday for a shorter trip. But I had to go pick up the hard drive in the morning and then fucking take it to the data center and
So
swap it
you
over and
blew 'em off.
reconfigure it and resilver and all the other bullshit. So yeah, so it just fucked my week.
So then he bought beer and had everything ready for you, and you dissed him.
Oh, I imagine we would have been going to the pub.
Oh, okay. All right. So you don't feel too bad.
I'd also put him in a bit of a spot. I was like, "Oh, can I stay at your place?" And he's got kids. I'm pretty sure he didn't want me to stay at his place. So next time, like,
As one does.
I'll organize a hotel near his place.
I'm sure he's like, oh, it's so bad. I wish we would have made it work. Yeah. Too bad, dude.
Like, I could just, if someone said, "Can I come and couch surf?" I'd be like, "No." I just get a hotel. So I do feel kind of bad in asking now. So next time I'll just get a hotel, I think.
You're kind of at the age where you should be able to afford a hotel. Yeah.
Yeah, I
You're
mean,
not like 20 anymore. Like sleep on your floor. Like you're a
Whoa,
grown
whoa,
man.
whoa. We're
You're a
not
grown
in that
man.
triple market. Affording hotels, that was strictly a one-time in spring 2022 kind of deal. That was
hotels used to be like a once a year thing. Like if you were remote and then like you had a lady friend that needed, accommodation on top of you, and so you'd get a hotel for the night.
By the hour.
Yeah, otherwise you'd just make do.
But the other piece, the important piece of this is that you guys met before, right? So it wasn't like a first time. I've never met this person. He's come and stay in my house with my kids, right? So there's some history there.
No.
Yeah. So it's not like, I mean, that's not bad then. Rama says these are lies. Everyone is excited to have this random crypto couch surfing. I don't know about everyone being excited, but maybe some members are excited at the house. That's too bad. Well, maybe you guys will make it. I mean, you're in the same country, only whatever. How far are you guys apart? Maybe 6 hours? 5 hours?
Yeah, probably 4 hours.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Like I
Sure
could
will
probably
happen.
just whip down there and see him, but I got a lot of shit on.
4 hours in this country will get you to fucking Scotland.
I know. I know, right? It's a little
Like,
different.
I think I could probably get all the way to Cornwall in one direction and midway up Scotland in the other.
Well,
I
Schultze
think
and I have
4
to be.
hours.
We have to be 30 hours apart, probably.
Rama
25,
says,
right?
Yeah.
You guys have done that drive before.
Rama says, I told the wife, I've met him before. He's a normal guy for someone in crypto. And she was okay with that.
Oh, that's funny. Actually, you're an amazing guy for someone in crypto.
Yeah,
Don't
there's
sell
a lot
yourself
of
short.
qualifications in that statement.
Exactly. Right.
You know, like I was at this conference with the Artifact guys last year, and because the baby was really wee, I had him with me, and my wife was still on mat leave at the time, so she came with for a few days, but because of their weird off the cuff schedule, you know what the Artifact lot are like at a conference. It's quite whatever we feel like, man. That like they never actually interacted. So from my other half's perspective, I kept being like, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, maybe you'll see the Americans later." They never materialized, and I kept being like, "Oh, I'm going to go off and see the Americans," and she's like, "Yeah, well, okay, cool. Is there a thing you need to go to?" "Yeah, I'm going to go to a thing. I'll meet the Americans there." And she's like, "Yeah, your imaginary friends. Yeah, cool. You're going to meet them."
Your
These
imaginary
people
crypto
that
friends.
apparently, you know, we're in adjacent streets, and I just haven't seen them in
Going
4
to meet
days.
some
And
of
I'm
your
sure they
friends.
exist. Like,
Friends.
yeah, no point did they see each other or anything.
Really, I didn't know that. So was I the first American friend to meet your wife from crypto?
I think so. Other than people I already knew, yeah.
Yeah. Because other
yeah,
friend of the show.
Where was that? That you guys were in? Was that Amsterdam?
No, we met when Schultze was in the UK.
Oh, just away from any conference, right?
Yeah,
That you guys were just you guys. Schultze was going through it, right? Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
I the first to meet your wife, Schultze, from crypto?
Yes, and I think that still remains true. I think you're the one and only.
The only.
Yeah,
that's right.
Rama's wife should feel good about that. But let's save this clip and send it to her.
I'll be like the only person that Rama's wife's met from crypto as well.
Yeah, I've met him before. He's a normal guy for someone in crypto, and he met someone else's wife, and she said he's okay.
And she
as
said,
far as I know, she's still alive.
she's still here. She's still
being given
she
2 ticks of non-weirdness.
Honestly, that's more of a you should use that on the website. Like crypto's friends' wives. Like crypto friends' wives said, I'm actually I'm okay. That's not bad.
I'm actually reasonably normal.
That's actually a really good. That's
I mean, to be fair, it's not the for a guy in crypto you want to worry about. It's kind of like for an Australian.
I was giving him shit about that today with doing an introduction.
I mean, I'm not weird. I'm not weird enough for an Australian.
True.
You are pretty muted for an Australian. I was kind of surprised and disappointed.
True.
It's like,
for especially how much for how backwoods you are.
What? The country?
Huh?
I'm forwards, man. I invested in Amazon.
I didn't say backwards. I said backwoods.
Like
in the bush.
Right.
In the bush.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Even the cities are like the bush here.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit disappointing in Melbourne that the mailbox is so close to the house.
What? What does that mean?
It's a mailbox separation.
It's just a joke. It's like,
oh man,
the joke. Like to get to your mailbox here is like, half-hour drive.
Too funny. Well, maybe you guys will figure out.
Schultze's like trying to process that. He went off mute for a second. He's like, no, back to thinking.
Yeah, I got nothing. I was like, what? That doesn't. So
you have to go to town, sparse, right?
Yeah, so you have to go to town to go to a post office to pick stuff up rather than having a local thing.
No,
or are you having a joke?
Just insinuating that the driveway is really long.
The driveway is really long
because they own 800,000 acres, so his mailbox is 4 miles from the house.
Exactly.
All right, listen, I'm slow sometimes. All right, I need
Yeah,
an
you
extra
need like a
explanation for some
you need a
bits.
Like-
water bottle to walk it.
It's not even early there.
So I looked it up, right? The population of first of all, the population of Sydney is only slightly bigger than Melbourne. What?
Is that true?
Sydney-
Really?
Wait, really?
Yeah, apparently, like
Yeah, they reckon
Syd-
Melbourne's going to overtake Sydney.
Sydney
Really?
feels way bigger than Melbourne when you're in
Yeah.
Sydney. Like way
Melbourne
bigger.
is far nicer. Like it's aesthetically.
Is it more
Um,
suburbs? Is that because Sydney
Oh,
downtown
fuck
feels
it.
way bigger, right?
Yeah.
the sprawl in Melbourne is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
Suburbs of just fucking people.
It's a little bit like the northwest of England, where there's not really any countryside between the Peak District and the sea, but it's like it's just like lots and lots of things run together. Is kind of what Melbourne feels like.
Yeah,
the
and
suburbs,
like
it's
the older
out.
town is just like a bunch of you know, the suburbs are like all very close together and they've all got their own little centers. And they're all like pretty unique. I didn't really realize when I used to visit Melbourne.
Chicagoland, actually, if you've been to Chicago, like it's a little bit like Chicagoland in the sense of like if you go to like random places which are like in Illinois, but they're actually in kind of Chicagoland, they have their own little center of gravity, don't they?
First of all, nobody says the word Chicagoland, but
Whatever.
in Chicago, there's all the suburbs usually have a small downtown, right? Actually, same thing where we are too, and everywhere. It's kind of an American thing too, right? You have a small main street and everything else.
Except these are all really.
I would push back. I would definitely push back on that being a normal thing.
Well, maybe it's an
most
East Coast
suburbs.
thing. East Coast,
definitely an East Coast thing. In the West Coast,
Yeah,
it's quite rare to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
like a
I should
suburb
say-
have its own strip.
that is a colonial thing. That's a colonial.
Yeah, it's a real
yeah,
English
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's the way of doing it. We're like even where we are, we have like small downtown area where there's more walking and everything else, and then you have kind of sprawl around that, and then you have a bunch of pockets of those, right? Same thing in Chicago as well. Like those suburbs are really huge now, right? Like when I was there, 30,000 people in a small suburban town, and now it's like 50 or 60 because they're all jammed in there. But yeah, crazy.
In any case, the suburbs are all quite like they've got their own little thing. You know, they're all got their own sort of thing.
Mhm.
Where we are now is like
It's the crypto
real.
suburb.
No, well,
Just start with-
Everybody's just trading NFTs of farm animals on the street.
it really feels like a suburb just filled with busted cunts that have got no money.
What is it? Can you? What does that mean?
Like everyone's like wearing rags and shit. It's like there's like this real big secondhand culture in this suburb. Like there's all these op shops and shit everywhere. It's like
Does that mean we're in just one of these, or do you mean all of them?
No, just the suburb that we're in now.
Oh, okay.
Everyone spends their money on like food and coffee.
Yeah.
It's like and
I'm like a
piss.
bit of a boomer right now.
Yeah, it's like everyone eats out there all the time.
These kids, they're spending all their time eating out and spending money on experiences rather than
And
buying
used
finely
clothes.
tailored shirts that they don't have to wear to their job, that they don't have to go into the office for anymore because they just sit on Zoom with the camera off.
At the same time, it's like a real old area for like Lebanese and other Middle East and some Asian cultures as well in there, which it makes it quite unique in that area, especially the Middle East flavor that's everywhere. It's like lots of really nice Middle Eastern restaurants and stuff.
It's good.
But yeah, it's really close to the city too. It's a good little spot. But yeah, so it's local flavor, and then if you go like the next suburb over, which is actually just called that same suburb East, and it's all full of rich fucks and nicer restaurants.
So
and then
what
if you go,
you've got ideas above your station, you want to move into the rich fuck suburb.
You don't want to be in the rich. You don't want to be in the rich fuck suburb, though.
well, the thing is that like the houses cost the same from the rich fuck suburb to the like busted fuck suburb. The houses are all still unaffordable.
So
know who
it's
the
just
fuck are buying
it's
these
just
things.
it's just the retail that's different.
Yeah,
What
it's
you're
just
saying,
like
right?
the shop. It's like, down the main street of my suburb, it's all graffiti and dog shit. And you go over to the next suburb and it's like, nice windows being clean and whatever.
You
So
should you should start your own foo-foo bullshit coffee shop, whatever, on the poor side, and then name it after something on the east side, and call it something east, and be like, and then do that.
At the last suburb we lived in, there was a fucking beanbag shop.
Just
whole-
beanbags.
That's fucking
A whole fucking shop, just
That
beanbags.
is-
Yeah,
like ones you sit in or ones you throw at people.
like ones you fucking sit in, man. I was like,
Really? Just a
what
fucking
in
beanbag
the
shop?
fuck is this? Yeah, Melbourne's different for sure. It's kind of like, I don't know what it's kind of like. It's not that, like, there's a lot of weird fucks there, like there would be in LA, but
Oh goodness.
LA is a bit more beachy and relaxed. Yeah, I don't know. I met a guy from New York there on the last weekend. We were looking at some units, and he's a real estate agent, and he's from New York.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I'm like, how do you like Australia? And I'm like, are you a resident here now? Like, are you a citizen? He's like, yeah, man, I'm a citizen. And he introduced himself as, Paul from New York.
There's New
He's
York
like,
in there.
I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm Paul, right? And he's like, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And then I said, oh, you're from the States? And he goes, New York.
Uh-huh.
Like, he ain't from the
Yep.
States. He's from New York.
Yeah. That's you got to separate yourself. That's like
Yeah,
the
I
east.
said
That's exactly.
I said, that's
It's like
a
people from
fucking
Boston, isn't it?
interesting,
People
like,
from Boston. How
designation.
do you know somebody's from Boston? They'll let
They
you
fucking
know.
they fucking let you know exactly.
Yeah, 100%. That happened to me the other day. I was talking to somebody, and they just, I don't know, within 5 minutes to start the conversation, maybe less, they just dropped into conversation like, well, in Boston. I was like, I've heard of it. Yes.
I've never heard about Boston, but Texas. Oh man. Oh yeah. Texas will let you know.
We can tell somebody's from Texas because they're like concealed carrying or whatever, right? You just got a big bulge. They got a bulge here for the belly and a bulge here for the gun. And you're like, so one thing that shitted me about Arizona, which it makes a lot of sense, right? It's smart.
Arizona?
Everybody fucking wears cowboy hats, right? Because they're actually really practical in that climate. And you're just like, as a European, you're like, oh yeah, they're not just like a cowboy film thing. They totally make a lot of sense.
They're functional.
There's people just like
just a
walking
thing.
around with cowboy hat and a gun. And you're just like, this is like landing on Mars. This is wild.
Wyoming's fun because you'll find like a bunch of Cadillacs with steer horns on the front.
Yeah.
Like just kind of like
Boss Hog.
yeah. But really
Hey,
only Wyoming and maybe Montana as well. But it's bizarre every time I drive through there. I'm like, really? That's what you got?
It took 101
Artifact.
episodes for me to make a
Artifact joins the chat. Is this the first time we've seen Artifact here in the 101 episodes?
No, but it's been
Ears must
50
have been
episodes
burning.
for sure. Yeah.
His must have been burning because we chat about them.
No, we text each other back and forth, and I'm like, hey, we're on Game of Nodes, and every once in a while, then he goes, oh, maybe I should hop on Game of Nodes.
You should. So
he's
So anyway,
accusing
the
me of
closing
being
of
up
the
to my
thought about
eyeballs
population.
in testnet shitcoin. I don't think that's the case.
But so anyway, the end of the thought about population before we probably should move on to some validator operations is that, like, by my shitty maths, nearly a third of the population of Australia live in just Melbourne and Sydney.
Probably more.
Yeah, probably more, I would think, right?
Yeah, like around a third.
It'd be like more like 2/3.
Yeah.
No, it's about 12 million people, isn't it? Something like that.
There's
Population of Australia is about
20-something
36.
million. There's like
How many
27
total
million,
in Australia?
27,
36?
30 something.
What?
30,
Oh,
what?
jeez.
I thought it was like 36. This is like quite a
No.
pub quiz question now.
Maybe
What's
I
the
haven't
population of
checked for a
Australia?
while. Hey, when I was a kid, it was like 28 million. So
36 million in the whole country?
Yeah, it's got to be 36 million, hasn't it?
Jesus, that sounds wonderful.
because it's like
It's
about
probably-
half the population of the UK.
Which is
right.
like
There's probably,
more than that.
there's,
in
probably
yeah.
there's probably 36 million within 300 miles of me.
How many would be on Manhattan Island? That'd be a few, wouldn't it?
New York proper is probably 9,
Yeah, it's a fair bit.
10, somewhere in there. Philly is probably, I don't even know what Philly is. Philly's got to be at least 3 or 4, I would
New
think.
New York
5.
Metropole is over 24 million at least. I think New York proper is at least 10.
I think the 5 boroughs is at least 10. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking like just proper. But like that whole area, because then you're so close to Philly and you start pulling in DC and Baltimore and all that
Jesus.
shit. Like you
The
got to have
population of Australia is 25.69 million as of the
in the
last.
whole country. God, that sounds wonderful.
God damn it. Like Canada's obviously a lot bigger, but California's fucking 14 million more.
Wow.
In the words of John McClane in Die Hard, California,
27 million.
California.
California. My favorite.
They
favorite
go
line
down
from the
since
entire
your
film.
education, or maybe your education. They were just uplifting it so you felt better.
Which education? Sorry.
And Knowles, what he said, he thought it was 28 million when he was in school. They were like, yeah, it's 28. It's 28.
Hey, don't
It's
worry
28.
about it.
It's fine.
It's 27. It's 27 million. Hey, so anyway, finishing my story about the New York guy, right?
Oh yeah.
And I said, how are you finding Australia anyway? And he's like, oh, it's really good here. Like, New York's really competitive. It's not here. He's like, if you fuck up in your job in New York, there's like 10 people ready to take your place.
Big
He's
fish,
like,
small
"You
pond,
don't have
dude.
that here. You can fuck up all you want."
Yep.
I'm like, okay. You came here for that. Cool.
Big fish, small pond.
Yeah.
Speaking of Cosmos validators,
So I was
were you about to say that?
Right, I was going to be right in there.
the net result of that was me not wanting to move to New York. I'm like, I'll be out of a job.
That sounds amazing. Yeah. So if it's 27 million in the country, I would think that Sydney plus Melbourne has to be at least half of that, right? At least.
Yeah,
It's like there's a
almost
lot.
Proper, like with that whole area. And then Robert's right, like Brisbane is growing, and then it has to be at least.
I guess
half.
it just goes to show how sparsely populated the rest of the country is.
Yeah, I'm surprised all this doesn't tip right into the ocean that way. Just Perth just goes up in the air.
That's how it works. That's how continental shelves work. So anyway, that concludes the pub quiz section of the show. Write in if you'd like to pose the panel any future questions on relative populations of places, and we'll do our best to have a guest before looking it up. And
maybe we can get a guy in from the ABS,
make an NFT of the winner or something like that.
The
Australian
ABS?
Bureau of Statistics. Be like, yeah, I'm not doing anything this afternoon anyway.
Why is your Australian Bureau of Statistics guy got an American accent?
Yeah, I'm stuck on it.
The Australian Bureau of Statistics.
Was that supposed to? But you just said you're stuck on it. The last person you were talking about was from New York. So was that your New York accent as well?
I don't know, man. I'm just
Look,
living
all
my
right.
life over here, dude.
This is well, this is the exact lack of specifics, preparation, and competitive edge that mean you won't get ahead in New York. Is not thinking about these details.
Dude, the Australian Bureau of Statistics makes me fucking laugh.
How many
people are in Australia? Fucking lot, mate. Okay.
It's fucking heaps.
Fucking apes.
Couldn't even count them on all my fingers and toes.
How far is it from Brisbane to Melbourne? I don't know.
Fucking long way.
Fucking long way. You better pack a sixer.
It's at least a fucking day, mate. Bring your chili bin.
How hot is it? How hot is it? How hot is it in Melbourne in the summer? Oh,
Mate, you wouldn't fucking believe how hot it is. That's how hot.
oh, dude, we should get that guy on. That'd be fucking amazing.
It's really fucking hot.
Can you even
Really
imagine?
fucking hot.
Oh man.
How many people in Perth? Never been. I don't know.
You tell me, lad. You been
No
there
idea.
lately?
No, never been.
Do a head
No.
count, did you?
I don't think it exists. Never been out there.
Survey the pubs? All the statistics are just taken at the local pub by asking people. Mate, do you know how many people are in this town?
About 50.
At least fucking 50, mate.
Just writes it down, has a pint, off he goes.
Dude, that is fucking hilarious.
Depends on like factors. At least 50, maybe 25 that I like.
I don't
So
know.
just there could be 25 next week.
Oh man.
Who knows?
Has anything happened this week? The news segment was looking pretty thin. I closed it.
There was something that happened this week.
That's what happened this week. So Bro and Bros validated two tombstones on Juno during the upgrade shenanigans. Which was that after?
Was it
last
during the
episode?
upgrade or was it off upgrade? It was. It was during the upgrade because we had a small halt, right? Is that what
It
it was?
was during the upgrade because there was a halt. That was that this Monday just gone, or was that last month?
I don't know. It's a fucking blur.
Anyway, so Tombstone
Last week, since last episode.
Since last episode,
seemed like
Tombstone
Friday.
on June. Right? Yes, yeah. So what had happened was there was first a slightly choppy upgrade last Monday, and then that broke smart contracts on Juno. So there was an emergency
Right.
upgrade towards the end of the week, and that upgrade stalled.
Well, to be
on
be more
Thursday
specific,
morning.
that was it wasn't a planned upgrade. It was a hey, let's all halt at the specific height and swap
Oh,
into
they're the
binary and
best.
see what the fuck happens, right? Which is always the best. That's it's always
Yeah. And a
it's
lot of
always
teams did not get that notification and just signed or app hashed the block.
Well, I think what actually happened there was that I think actually I don't know what they happened with theirs. That description that they had, which we'll put a link in the show notes. It's not in our notes, but I'll find that because it didn't make any sense to me, to be honest. Like what they said happened versus what happened. It didn't actually make any sense what happened, but it sounded like they tried to do a snapshot restore at some point, and then they kept the state file, which they were very specific around saying that they kept the state file, but somehow double.
Well, I guess they didn't copy it back, right?
You would. It sounds like that's what happened. Yeah.
It's 2024, people. Get a fucking remote signer. If you're running a mainnet without a remote signer in 2024, you're fucking up.
Depends on the network.
I'm willing to make a statement like that, but I don't know. That's pushing pretty hard. I think there's something to be said for people that aren't using remote signers. Like
there's a lot of
Horcrux
huge
is
values.
great. Yeah, Horcrux is great. TMKMS is great, but they're also like such a dependency on those two signers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some people need to be running not remote signers. I like just so that I can continue running Horcrux and we're not all dependent on it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Polkachu runs 80 networks or whatever. There's no remote signing there. I can just run all regular nodes, right? I run. It depends on. I run a mix of Horcrux and not, depending on what the networks are and how many nodes I'm running. But it depends on what's going on. But it's also like in that situation. I'm guessing that was neither an automation fuck up or something else, because there's really no reason for, even if you, and Bro is actually like, they're a good validator, right? Like I have no issue with them. They've been in that space for a long time. Like they know what the hell they're doing.
They have been around for a long time, yes.
A long time, right? And they provide a shitload with they publicize a bunch of Grafana dashboards and things like that, which is cool. So this was clearly a fuck up, and like I said, we've talked about this before, right? This is an easy thing to fuck up, even for the experienced, right? And like it'll happen to Polka at some point, it'll happen to me at some point. Like it'll just be something that happens. It's something fucked up if you're not running it. And from that perspective, yeah, I should run remote signers. But also, I have $2,300 on Juno. What the fuck do I care? Like our whole TVL is like less than my credit card bill. Like,
it's even. I mean,
what the fuck does it matter?
It's still possible
Doesn't
to
make a
fuck up
difference.
with a remote signer. It's just a lot less likely that you will.
It's difficult.
It's a lot more difficult because there is no key matter on the node. But I think pretending that we have all audited every single line of code in the remote signers, and we can guarantee that in an edge case like a restart, something like that, there is absolutely no way that two signatures can be received. I would say I'm 99% sure that's the case. but like being able to be certain is 100% would involve
Yeah.
auditing every line in that code, and I haven't done that.
Yeah.
So
Right, which is why there were double signs using Horcrux with single signers way back when. They've supposedly fixed it now,
Say.
and I tested
Say.
to make sure that they did, right? And I couldn't replicate it anymore. But I mean, actually, that happened on stream, didn't it? I think it did.
That happened on Say Testnet on Atlantic 2 with Null.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I
you,
think it
right?
happened on
Or-
stream. I tried
Yeah,
to
we did.
replicate it, but I was
We
unable
did
to
it.
replicate it after the upgrade.
Sorry, it didn't happen on. We did it on stream on purpose.
Right, you forced it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that
yeah,
really-
yeah. We
yeah.
forced it on stream. But the point is we could do it, right? And to your point, like remote signers, amazing. But they're without a doubt are edge cases where they can go awry. And if it happens to be that a lot of us are using remote signers and it all goes awry at the same time.
Yeah, no
like,
doubt about
for
it.
example, vote extensions. Those are coming with a lot of networks right now. Barachain has them,
Fucking
and
vote extension.
a bunch of other things.
Mhm.
We don't know how Horcrux handles vote extensions right now. Right now, nobody has double signed with the newest release candidate that handles vote extensions. That doesn't
That's
mean
what
they're not
testnet's
there.
for, right?
That's what the testnets
Yeah.
are for. Yeah, exactly. Which I'm using it for the testnets. But that the statement still stands that we don't know what's going to happen whenever like the vote extensions get more complicated.
I mean, to the core of it, though,
Actually,
I would say
Are you
double-
using a
double sign-
raft or a single?
Raft for Barachain, if that's what you're asking.
What wasn't there? Oh, so the same thing happened recently on DYDX have gone to 50 as well, and so it's the same thing on their testnet. But yeah, are you using a raft for Barachain? I should. I better get the single signer on there and just make sure that it's working properly.
I'm running that on the worst possible hardware.
Using multiple signers for Barachain, but for testnets we run them locally as opposed to remotely.
Barachain's
So
testnet.
it's fine that way.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think I'm actually signing locally on Barachain.
I'm signing locally in Barachain. Yeah, we haven't appreciated buck.
Actually,
But I do agree that the idea that the idea that like unknowing, like that it's a huge dependency on a third party piece of software that could have regressions associated with these types of things. Like we saw obviously with the single signer within Say, right? That could come back, right? We could have the same issue in a raft situation. Like shit happens, and so it's like I agree that there's a safety catch there, but it's also a safety catch also based off of hey, Jack's here. All right. It's also a safety catch based off of just human development, and shit happens, right? Chains move, and Strangelove team has to react to that, and like things happen where it's not just an end all be all safety catch, and it has been so far. But we've had, like you said before, we've had that issue before within the Say single signer type of thing, and that was an issue that we found out in testnet that happened prior to mainnet, which was great. But you never know. Like so I mean I think from my perspective, the whole idea is like get rid of the stupid double sign thing. Like it's not doing fucking shit other than like, has it ever had an issue of a real concern with multiple entities impersonating a single entity?
So the problem is that without it, you get owned, right? That's basically that. There's nothing at stake, and there's actual double spend, right? And
doesn't the consensus mechanism already handle it? So if the consensus mechanism handles it, then why even slash for double signing?
Isn't it the same as like what we do on other chains where like there's it already, if another node checks with the same consensus key or with the same signing key, it already checks and see if there's another node that's already signing with that key, and like that's what we see before, like Aptos and others. Like it just recognizes.
I think it's very different because it's actually it was every round, isn't it? And then you assemble based on the rounds, and then you finalize a commitment. I have to be honest, I would have to reread the Tendermint docs on this, but the reason that some other networks don't have this problem is because of how their computation model works for consensus. Like if you don't want to have something like a slasher, like a hard slash, you have to build in a safeguard in some other way, and Tendermint, the the SDK does it the way it does because Tendermint makes very few assumptions about the state machine. So the way that Tendermint works is it's very, very, it assumes that all of your state machine, which includes your invariants and all that sort of stuff, is done at the application level, and it's just the networking stack and consensus and the chain essentially. What that means is that because there's ostensibly a loose coupling, although ABCI in its original format is not that loose a coupling, it's quite tightly coupled between the two. It necessitates the design structure where that is prevented, maybe not at consensus level exactly, but at the point where you're publishing evidence, right? After the fact of a piece of Byzantine behavior. So my understanding, for example, of how, because everything in something like Aptos is done in the move VM, right, which is formally checked using like an advanced research grade programming language, and that's how they get around the double spend problem, is because it's formally checked that there is no double spend. So they don't need to make you double sign because they have a mathematical guarantee that you haven't, because there's a tight coupling between the move VM and the consensus implementation.
Could WASM doing something about that? Could WASM do the same thing? Like from a contract perspective, is there any way to? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but is it core plumbing that can never be changed, or is it just?
I think you would need to do something like CWSDK. I think, because I think the point is that the consensus mechanism has to have access to the transaction, like very directly, and it has to do something before consensus is reached. So there's an interplay there, like, and I think my understanding, at least, of the interplay and block finalization with Tendermint is it doesn't make that assumption for good design reasons, but it leaves it to the SDK to do, and that's why double signing is designed the way it is.
Cool.
So it is TLDR. Yes, it is possible, I think, but I think only if you redesign that interaction.
I think Jake is saying the same things in the chat. It is possible without the SDK currently.
Yeah, and it's not. To be clear, it's not. I think it's not just a WASM thing. You could obviously just implement it, however you like. But I think, at least, like I say, I think the problem is that Tendermint has to have knowledge of the state machine that it currently doesn't, or it needs to have some way, some like hook to know about to introspect that.
So in the meantime, can we still continue to make fun of tombstones?
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Thank God.
Thank God. The show still exists.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's an interesting problem, right? Because obviously you need, like, the whole of economic finality relies on the idea that you punish Byzantine behavior, right? But at the same time, it's never punished, or when it is punished, like, there's a lot of evidence of it being rolled back. And
well, that's the social aspect, not the technical aspect, right? You're mixing those two.
But the mechanism isn't functioning. It's not really functioning as intended by the designers. It's like a quite good example of a protocol that kind of has to exist, but is maybe papering over something else that.
Well, if there was a real Byzantine issue where you had this situation, these are just operator fuck ups. Yeah. So I understand the idea of the social piece. Saying,
though. I mean,
no, I'm not saying they're not, but they're not like a it's not something that is it's a single entity that's fucking something up, that's creating this behavior, right? And so there's a social aspect that where he goes, it's fine, they're learning, and like, well, everybody gets a pat in the back and like a good job, and they're going to try better next time, and that whole shit happens, right? And then either the chain state changes, right, or like in this case, Bro was back on the set within like 8 minutes.
Yeah,
they were above us like within 12 minutes, right? So and then everybody has a social contract to be able to refund those because we fucked up and blah blah blah, versus an actual true a true situation where there is a something nefarious going on, right, with multiple entities, which would be
Right.
different.
But I think that's so. There's two things here, right? There's an actual attack, and then there's Byzantine behavior. So Byzantine behavior also just simply includes a node being down, because the Byzantine general's problem is that you need to get a message confirmed and delivered
Mhm.
in the middle of a battle.
Yeah.
If you are the general tasked with getting that message over there,
Wait, hold on.
and
Let's back up just a little bit. Let's go back to Byzantium. I want you to explain that one more time because I've
I knew
always
that.
wondered
I
about that
knew that was
terminology.
coming, dude. Knew that was coming.
I just
So-
needed to know. I need to know.
the Byzantine general's question is basically like my crap summary of it would be: you have two generals on either side of a hill, right?
Mhm.
And you need to coordinate an attack, and there's the middle of a battle. How do you get a message from one to the other and know that it's arrived? And how do you know that the other general is being truthful? So what you learn,
Really? That's what it is?
so there's a
Mhm.
whole bunch of stuff right around. So the
There's a good-
PBFT paper, which basically is the predecessor to the logic that brings forth Tendermint and whatnot, tells you that, let me get this right, otherwise I will fuck it up. It's n/3 - 1 is the number of nodes that can have a fault before bad stuff happens, right? That's where you derive the 33.4% from, right? And then the whatever it is, 2f plus 1 faulty is the other corollary of that. So the key here though is that non-delivery, like for a fuck up, like just a complete innocent error, still means the message doesn't get delivered, the battle gets lost, right? In the original analogy. So and in the original paper as well, like the whole point is that full asynchrony isn't full asynchrony requires a completely different set of assumptions, which is why timeout is very, very important in a PBFT system, of which Tendermint is an implementation, right? So that's why you have the timeout, because at some point you have to say, okay, nil vote, and we continue to find out whether enough nodes have the information for us to continue.
Generals, not nodes.
Generals, nodes, whatever.
Yeah.
The point is that if enough of those nil vote, then we don't have consensus, right? And so in a very real sense, like a fuck up that takes down your node is punished, right? And yes, I have been watching a lot of Sharp recently, so the idea of Napoleonic era army discipline is definitely somewhere in the back of my subconscious, right? But if you lose the king, right, to quote the first episode of Sharp, the man that loses the king's colors, sir, also loses the king's friendship, right? If you lose the message, it's still Byzantine behavior, and the punishment should fit the crime, which is that you have failed to participate in the attack. All of your lads, all your blokes, your lads, they're all standing behind their hill waiting to attack, and you're just going like, I'm just waiting for the counterpart to tell me to go. I've sent them a message, but I sent that really anemic looking pigeon that was looking a bit sickly. It was doing little pigeon coughs, and it was going, and I don't know if it made it. Maybe I should have sent this absolute Chad pigeon that's like full chonk. It's just like raring to go. It's bashing against the side of its cage. Just really wants to take a message. And I was like, but the other guy, the other pigeon, I felt like I should give that pigeon a shot, to redeem itself, because it was a bit crap the last time I used it. But actually, on balance, I should have used the Chad pigeon.
And this analogy is the Chad pigeon Hetzner and the other pigeon Contabo.
I think I don't know. I think the weak pigeon, the pigeon with the shittest security, is definitely host key.
Oh my goodness!
Look, all I know is that if you use host key, then your message ain't getting delivered.
Fucked.
Fucked. And you are not going to successfully attack the city. So
I'm trying to find there was a really great webpage about the Byzantine generals problem. I'm trying to find, if I find it between now and the show, I'll put it in the notes. I'll put a couple of other examples in there, but somebody had like a really great example and just like discussion around this in this I don't know if they use pigeons or not, but whatever.
I would also say
plus or
that
minus.
all of the relevant numbers, like the fact that the minimum nodes is 3, but in practical terms it's 4.
It's 4, right?
And the whatever the hell it is, I always try and remember which is the n over 3 minus 1. That's all on page 1, I think, of the practical Byzantine fault tolerance paper from 1999, which is actually quite readable for a paper on consensus mechanisms. So,
right.
It's if you are enough of a nerd. Okay, granted, I am literally doing a PhD on this shit now. So,
How do you know someone's doing a PhD?
It's a good fucking paper. What can I say? Read it.
I do remember because I think I got introduced from a Honey Badger version of this, which is the Honey Badger, the HBB FT, which is also a really great white paper. I'll put that in the notes as well. But and Jack's here on YouTube also mentioned the Wikipedia page for Byzantine fault, which I'll put in the notes as well. So that's good stuff.
Recently migrated from X to YouTube.
Yeah, Jack has been on the show, and like I can't remember when he was on, like maybe in the 20s or 30s. He's probably surprised that this is still going 70 episodes later.
Ends maybe.
I believe he's on
like holy shit, this thing is still going.
First or second or third.
He was on a few times early days for sure, like 5 times maybe, a bunch of times. Yeah, it was early. Yeah, Jack he said I'd love to come back out. We'd love to have you on, dude. For sure.
Didn't like the cut about Jib. Fucked off.
No, he's busy. He's doing shit that's important. We're just fucking around on Wednesdays at 2100 UTC.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Man, I'm busy at 3 a.m.
I'm increasing academic industry cooperation one fucking draft at a time.
That's right.
I had to have a conversation. I have a deadline in a couple of weeks, and I'm trying to get some stuff done. And I had to have this like I got asked if I could do this thing, and I had to be like, "Yo, no, there's like a stress net and a whole bunch of shit coming up. Like I'm just gonna be, I gotta be like 100% in the thing." And when you're part time, like there's this funny thing because like also like I'm quite a bit older than a lot of the other people doing this stuff, and when you just have to remind people like, "Oh yeah, I have a job." Like I know it sounds like I just like shit post on the internet all day, but like in between all of that, there is sometimes some actual like infrastructure that needs standing up at a company.
You also do that, yeah, exactly,
yeah, exactly. And you have to be like, oh yeah, no, like I got to stand up like I need to buy and stand up like 4 boxes and all this other shit needs to get done next week. And it's like, oh, that sounds like a bit of work. And it's like, yeah, that's why I can't do this thing you just asked me to do.
Wow,
I'm not, whatever, man.
I'm not talking about blocks. I'm making blocks, bitches.
Exactly. If I was Bucky, I would do a kind of mid rap about it.
Oh, that would be awesome. That's what you should do. You should hop up on stage and do like a
slightly cringe rap.
Yeah, just freestyle.
Okay, so I should say obviously like I think that Bucky is like from a technical perspective like a really really clever dude and all that sort of stuff, but honestly the whole rap thing is so Succession. Have you seen Succession? The first episode where it's the guy in a limo doing a rap to himself to G himself up for an investor meeting. And it's like dead cringe.
Oh my goodness. Bro. So what do they, before we get off this topic, how much do they get slashed anyway? Before we leave this, anybody know what the number was?
$200. I don't know.
I don't know where they were in the Geno set. Is it in the link at all?
Don't know. We could find the block and then
25,000 Geno.
That's how much was slashed?
$5,000?
That's like $18.
What?
Sorry, Jake. It's 35 cents. It's $7-8 grand. Okay, not nothing. Not crazy.
It's not as big as that. What was the one the other week? That was substantially bigger, wasn't it?
What was it? I don't remember that one.
I feel like we had a double sign relatively recently that was over 100G. Did I not?
I don't know.
That was a Pego slash on Injective.
Oh
yeah,
that was over 100,000.
Yeah,
that was Binance
on a Pego slash.
They got pegoed by Pego.
That's
there was another one. There was another
There
brutal
was.
one last week.
Ooh. Wait, I shouldn't say that because you just never know with Pagon, and we could be next.
Dude, fucking Pego slashes at $100,000 for a bullshit.
Oh no, it wasn't. It
Oracle?
wasn't so bad. This one was only a 200 INJ slash.
That's
Fuck.
still what
That's
is that?
still
$600
$8,000?
or $6 grand or something?
Yeah,
That's a
about
pretty good amount still.
7,000.
There's this Cosmos slash bot. I'll put a link to the notes. I've never seen this before. I don't even know how I missed it, but it's fascinating. I'm just scrolling back through here. It's pretty funny. There's a shitload of Umi slashes like that. I guess these are all like 0.1%. These are all pretty small, and also on the Evmo side.
Are those also, does that also include like Oracle slashes?
I think
Just
these are
Oracles?
all, yeah, I think a lot of these are Oracle slashes. Yeah.
It's Oracle slashes, man. Just
Yeah. 0.1% is either downtime on Juno. Bro obviously is in here. I'll put a link to that as well in the notes. But
I think the
yeah,
most savage slashing in all of the land is
King Nodes and Kujira.
No, I still haven't fucking refunded people yet. I can't get the fucking node. If anyone has a fucking history node for
bring it up,
Kujira,
baby.
let me know.
the excuses. That's what I'm hearing. Surely stake like Mo is the apex slash. No, just because of all the shenanigans around it.
Whatever happened?
Twice,
to
right?
Mo?
2 times.
Twice.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
one slash, then like a pleading, then like 4-month gap, then another slash.
I feel like the
Both
like
hard
Mo,
slashes, I think. Both
like
two
Mo
sides.
kind of got killed off by the bear market, right? I haven't seen it in a long time.
I think he got killed off by the double slash. I think that was the final shame in his
That
coffin.
was technical competency. Took a life. Yes.
Jack said all
Block
nodes
Demon was
had a
also a good
2x
one.
double sign. Man, I think it was more.
Was that not
I think
Block
it was-
Demon?
There's
I thought it was
all
Block
the
Demon
there's
got that.
all the grade what do they call it? White labels. that went?
Institutional grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that was it Block Demon? They did like a keynote at Gateway in Prague where they got up and were like, "Our balls are fucking massive. We do all these other ecosystems. We love Cosmos, and we're just like the fucking biggest balls. All of you are just like fucking cucks. We're amazing." And then they double sign like 2 weeks.
Double side.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
It's like, let's go
man.
big balls now, hey.
Too funny.
Jimmy,
I should
we're
laugh.
a room full
Yeah,
of Jimmy
here I
small
am.
ballses. Let's
Yep.
admit it.
Evmos was still like $3 each at that point, wasn't it? Too. So it was like a huge slash amount.
It was a big number. Yeah.
It was not a small number.
Those were all up.
10%
Those are up.
as well, slash at that point on that network. 10%.
Oh, you might be right because downtime slash on Evmos I think is 1%. So I think it is 10%.
Yeah, it was a big one.
I mean, 99% of these slashings on here are all Pego / some Oracle type of thing.
All the big
Injective,
slashes.
Umi. They're all like 0.1%. Like they're all really small numbers, but I mean, some of these numbers like 4,600 Umi. I'm not sure how much that is, but like at least some of these numbers are a little bit larger.
4,600 Umi is like $3.
Oh, is
$3,
it?
yeah.
Okay, all right, never mind.
Yeah.
I don't watch Umi. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Rama says like Mo is actually back, but has no engagement, so nobody's aware.
That's what happens when you abandon your Twitter account for 18 months.
Yep. Speaking of old situations coming back to light, the Oni boost drop. Are you guys part of that?
What?
I think it's just
Fuck off.
now that prices are coming back, we're starting to see like old shit coming back, and one of those is like finding ways to get around minimum commission amounts and just doing some ways
All
to get
the
back to
dumb
delegators and all that
degen.
kind of shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I those things are fun. It's all we're back in the bear baby when we start seeing commission reimbursements for some reason or another.
I don't like, do people not realize they're being farmed? Like there's the Prism Zone as well on Injective. Like
is that?
it's another one where they're farming fucking, if your
Dimension as
project
well,
is
I
any
think.
good, you do not need to farm fucking delegations on a validator. Like
Oh yeah. The one thing I like about before we go Oni, the one thing I love about Bootstrap is they put the registered trademark symbol on it.
Yeah.
like they fucking own it.
DMing it everywhere.
Let me check the U.S. Patent Office to see if Boost dropped by Oni is fucking registered trademark. Otherwise, I'm taking that shit over.
The joke
actually-
will
That
be
would
on,
be funny.
the joke
Actually,
will be on
what I
you if it is
yeah.
actually registered by them.
Actually,
Wouldn't
what I
that be
should
funny?
do is I should go register that trademark and then fucking sue them. That's what I should do. Can
You
I do
heard
that?
it
How
here
much is
first
that
on
application?
Game of Nodes, the
That would be
Patent Troll
amazing.
podcast.
We've never use it.
We've gone
just
from
sit on
being
it.
wind-up artists to being full-on patent trolls.
Register it,
101 episodes, but we are
fucking-
there.
buy the
Just-
domain.
Trademark register trolls.
Do you know what? Actually, I should be using my my JSTOR account now, just like to have access to every paper in the world and just go through every the scientific. There's a bunch of journals that are like on distributed computing or like consensus computing and stuff. I should just be flicking through each new issue and just trademarking a bunch of terms. Just be like, yeah, that one and that one and that one and that one. And if any of them end up getting used in the future, just be like, actually, is it that we do own that trademark? Like, what? Yeah, I trademarked it 5 minutes after your paper was published. I'm sorry. What's the line from Django Unchained where Christoph Waltz? I could not help myself.
Sorry, I could not help myself. I just watched it last night.
That's it, isn't it? Just before it all kicks off.
Remember says bull not bear. Got to change that mindset, usurper. Yeah, exactly. I think I said bear 4 times. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
so
bull.
you-
We're in the
grind
fucking
it.
bull.
Bootstrap is not registered IP in Australia.
It's not.
And it's
I'm going
not.
to check the U.S. Patent Office or the registration office after this. It's. I
We-
remember
we
we did a
registered
couple
the
names
Game of
before.
Nodes DAO.
I've done like 3 or 4 names in my past. I think it's like a couple grand. That actually would be worth it.
Well, we could set a legal precedent, right, by registering it to the
That
DAO.
would actually
And
be.
then have the DAO
yeah.
sue them,
Have the
and then I'll
DAO
get
own it.
another paper out of it. Usurp it. It'd be great.
We could go right in front of the Supreme Court in the U.S.
What
I'm
I
pretty
love
sure there'd be
about
a
the
conflict of
Bootstrap
interest,
is that it
actually, at
goes
point,
active and
anyway.
inactive.
Just yeah,
So, like, it's only
the bootstrap.
like you can turn it on and off. It's only active when it's in the moniker. As soon as it's gone, no more Bootstrap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Good
another,
times.
another
So
fun
the
thing.
redelegation period is what, 30 days?
Yeah, just enough to make enough. I cut you off before. You were talking about Prism. Is that a validator that's launching a chain? Is that what they're doing?
It's a chain
They're-
that's launching a validator.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
okay.
they're an old they're an
That's how
old
you know it's a good
fucking
chain.
Terra project, right? And they've just been like cruising around for the last few years, just like promising airdrops, doing snapshots, promising airdrops. They've
Mhm.
renamed now to Prism Zone and trying to take advantage of their followers list on X to farm some delegations on Injective. So
Dimension as well.
Oh, and
You got
Dimension.
$117,000 on X. So this was a chain. Was it a Cosmos chain?
It's not anything. It's just a
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
website, right?
It's a
Oh.
testnet, I believe. Let me check.
Oh,
real quick.
my
I think
bad.
It's a tester
Okay.
and testnet right now.
I see. Okay, so this is a potential, right?
Perspective, yeah.
A perspective chain that then we put validators up everywhere. You stake with us. We
Do you
earn
mean
a bunch of shit.
perspective? As in,
And then
from
we
one
give you an
perspective
airdrop
of
for
the
this
chain?
mysterious chain that's eventually going to launch at some point. I thought this was called Putmos. Wasn't this what this was called in the past?
Yeah, it's
Is that
it's
what this was?
recycling the Putmos white paper.
That's exactly what this is.
Man,
Yeah.
Putmos. Do you remember that?
Same fucking. This is like the same shit over and over. That's
Black
good.
Panther went straight to the top of the Injective validators.
Yeah, they did.
By promising
that?
their airdrop.
Oh, really? It's
Yeah.
so we're right back in. This is it. This is all good stuff. This
P-
is why I hate
PFC
Cosmos.
PFC has airdrop in their
All the same
name
shit.
now.
Oh, yeah, they
Uh,
do. I saw that.
Oni has Bootstrap after narrowly avoiding the fucking lava.
on
So what
on
they
which
do,
on what chain?
on Injective.
Oh,
So
Injective.
I think they tried it out on Dimension.
Yeah,
Almost
they got boosted out of Dimension. Yeah, they got
almost got to
dropped out of
stay in the
Dimension.
active set.
Yeah,
Didn't quite work, and then launched it on all of their chains.
yeah.
Wow, PFC rocketed up the set by adding airdrop to their moniker.
No, I
Fucking
think
ridiculous,
so.
man.
That wasn't because of the airdrop. There's a whale that delegated, so I think they know them. There was two big delegations came from the same wallet or two wallets.
I don't know if I'm
Somewhere nuts.
heartened or disheartened that all this same 2021 bullshit is now coming back. These are all the same tactics, right? It's all the same shit. 100%. There's nothing.
Do you know
new
what's
here.
really
They get
annoying?
the
That
same token
all
price.
these
I don't
people
give a
fuck
shit.
off. Like when the market goes bad, all of these people fuck off. We
Right.
stay here and work hard for the entire fucking bear market while they're off beating their dick. And then
No, that's not fair. PFC has been around the entire
PFC
time.
has been around.
They've
That's
been
true.
around.
I'm
That's
not.
true.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not really lumping PFC into this. To be fair, they're not like. I think his situation's a little bit different, but the other ones who have big Twitter followings that are just farming fucking delegators.
Yeah.
You know, when you saw it in 20, they all fucked off. They, you know, even a lot of them just like, yeah. Anyway, but now
this is why I stopped
they-
sleuthing. Amongst other reasons, it's literally useless and a waste of time. It's not useless and a waste of time. It's just probably too much because there's so many fucking opportunities to do so that it takes too much time to call them all out. Is really, I think, what that is.
So actually, there is one situation. So Rama, if you find your local university, go to the economics department, propose to them a PhD.
They're in the next office next to the Australian
the ABS
metrics. The ABS.
Yeah.
They're right down. They're next
They're
office
right
next to
next
the
door.
ABS.
They're all just still just hang it out, right? And then you sleuth for a few years, and then just write it up formally, and then you get to become Dr. Rama. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I seem
Dr.
to be doing
Rama
like,
does have a good name to it.
yeah, exactly.
It does.
My current process is just like trying to prove a bunch of stuff that I know to be 100% true, but it's actually like really hard to prove because everything we ever do in this stupid crazy space is done on like self-destructing messages on Telegram groups and all this kind of bollocks where it's like and like I got asked the question the other day, what, but how do you know that? And I was like, oh yeah, because everybody knows you go to this place. And they were like, no, but how do you know that? And I was like, well, I guess somebody told me. And they're like, yeah, but how did you find that out from, how did you meet that person? I was like, oh, I guess somebody else on some other thread told me that they would know. And they were like, well, but how does anybody know anything then? And I was like, welcome to decentralization. It's just weird, lots of small centralization, but also kind of oddly anarchic. And they were like, okay, but could you provide links to any of those things? I was like, no, they're all private. And they were like, right, so you can't actually prove your argument. I was like, no, I can't. But I know with factual certainty what I've just said is defensibly true.
And Rama's right. He said there's also zero consequence for any of it, which is true because you can't get enough visibility to actually call something out or put something into place. They just come back with another form or whatever. I assume that's what WE is. These kids these days. It's pointless to rather spend my time on more positive things. I mean, I would understand how being some sort of being the not a police officer, it's not the right term, but just somebody who's watching over the Cosmos ecosystem and being able to call out over and over on medium after medium gets fucking exhausting.
The city needs,
it's fucking exhausting, right?
Deserves.
Yeah, and there's really, and I agree that they come back with a different thing, and it's this and that, and at some point people don't give a shit because they're not in it for the future, they're in it for the now, and the now means how many fucking things monikers have the word airdrop in it, right? And in which case I should go add airdrop to all of our monikers. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Why am I?
Well, it's kind of back to the same, like the analogy here is like if you take a lot of the way all of this stuff actually thrashes out in practice on proof of stake chains, is that you see an analog to our modern political moment. The central problem of late neoliberal capitalism and like the death of the kind of technocrat paradigm is that there is no long-term plan. There's no long-term plan from politicians, and from voters. There's not a lot of interest in a long-term plan because nothing has been pitched for quite some time. It's just what can you get now? Get what you can while you can is the political moment we find ourselves in, and it's also, what is politics? It's the economy, stupid, right? And what is a crypto political system? As it turns out, at the moment, it's very economic in nature. So it's like no surprise that all these things are kind of layered on top of one another like a big steaming pile of poop.
Well, and I'd actually push back that there's zero consequences for any of it. I think that quite a few people have gotten benefit for pulling shady tactics, right? Like, aside from just the shady tactics itself, they then, if they're called out, they then get effectively that marketing, and then that marketing kind of thrusts them forward. And so even spending all that effort, as Rama clearly has, like, I think all of us have read excellent threads by Rama talking about something. It's almost universally backfired in a quote unquote positive way for the person that did something bad. So it's just, I can see why Rama would be burnt out.
Yeah.
It's
rough, man. It's rough. Yeah, I agree. And there should be more of those, right? So, but I mean, we're helping. We do our, we do our news thing. That's enough to pay for all that, I think. Maybe through the DAO. We're doing our part. Game of Nodes is doing our part. Let's go.
We need that. Is it Starship Troopers that I'm doing my part with?
I'm doing my part.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
That's right.
Do you know what? I've got a long train journey at the weekend. I'm going to download that to my laptop. So
that's a good fucking movie.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Do you know what I saw a really fucking good movie the other day.
Oh yeah, let's move to media. Let's get off this crypto bullshit.
I saw that from the title, I was like, this sounds a little bit too worthy for like a Monday night or whatever it was. But it was, what was it called? Judas and the Black Messiah. Have you seen this?
No,
I've never heard of it.
And as somebody in the UK, like I don't know much about.
I've never heard of it.
I know a little bit about the history of like the Black Panthers and stuff, but I didn't really, other than like the obvious stuff where it's stuff happening with Malcolm X or contemporary to Martin Luther King, because we do a little bit of that and sometimes in history in England, but I think it depends where you went to school.
Yeah.
But it was super, super interesting. It's about this. It's basically about this FBI informant in the Chicago Black Panther.
Chicagoland.
Chicagoland.
That's called a callback. It's a comedic device. No, So and I didn't know anything about. I didn't know anything about it going into it, and the acting is just because this is obviously it's based on true story, and they show you. This isn't a spoiler, but right at the end, they show you a little bit of film of the actual person who's depicted in the film.
Okay.
And honestly, oh my God, when you see him actually talking, his mannerisms, you're like, it's like Lakeith Stanfield has crawled into that guy's skin and is wearing him like a puppet for the length of the film. You're like,
dude's a good actor.
Oh my God. Because I've only seen him in a comedy film, possibly.
Judas and the Black Messiah.
All right.
2021, actually, a few years ago now.
Yeah, I know. I didn't hear about it at the time. Daniel Kaluuya won a Academy Award, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding. That's what you say. You should go back and like try to watch Academy Award films, and I totally lost that thread after like a few years. There's just too many of them.
My other half is much better at that. Like she kind of quite often will go back through awards list and like sort through the ones that didn't age well based on like Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, and the ones that people are still going like, oh no, that was actually a very good film. So this was 100% one of her picks, and I was just like, ooh, heavyweight title. But then it turns out it wasn't
that bad.
No, so the title's a reference to what's the FBI guy? J. Edgar Hoover quote.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense in context. But again, I didn't know any of the context, so I was just like, that's a bit of an odd title. And then I think you're supposed to know that there's a J. Edgar Hoover quote,
Right.
so then the title makes sense, and then it would all make sense. But I didn't, so I was just like, about halfway through, or a few minutes through, or whatever it was, I was like, yeah, okay, fucking fine.
I've actually been watching a lot of media this week. I don't know why, just maybe the timing of it or something else, or just lack of other shit going on, or I don't know what the hell's going on. But some other recommendations I don't know if you guys are watching any of these, but Death and Other Details with Mandy Patinkin. That show's been really fun. That's actually been a pretty interesting show. It's just a few episodes in. I think just episode 3 or 4 dropped a few days ago, or actually episode 6 dropped this week, but I think I'm like 3 or 4 in. I thought that's been fun. It's like a murder mystery on a boat type of thing, and it has some fun characters and shit like that. True Detective season 4 started, which I don't know if you guys watched those. You ever watch those early ones with like the first one with
Is there a new season?
Yeah, season 4 is on, and it's with why can't I think of her name? The one and only. Seriously, why am I such an idiot?
Is that still Matt McConaughey or whatever?
No, that was only season 1. They rotate every season.
Oh, right.
Like it's somebody in the comments will tell me, get me back on track. Season 4 has been a lot of fun. It's up at like in the northernmost town of Alaska, and so there's a bunch of Arctic situations going on. It's been actually pretty cool. And also, what also started, I'm not sure if you guys ever watched this, but there's a show called Tokyo Vice, which I think is an Apple TV show, maybe. I don't even know, but I watched it in season 1 started last year. I think it's like maybe one of the least watched shows, Tokyo Vice, but season 2 started this week, and it's a totally cool show. It's a American who moves to Tokyo and then starts getting involved in some of the mafia underground there, and it's been actually pretty fun. He's a reporter, and he starts getting pulled into some of the it gets pulled into Tokyo Vice Police Squad, and like some of those other types of shit's going on. It's actually a really cool show, and really like great cinematography, and it's like it's a really interesting type of thing. So all 3 of those I've been sucked into this week. And then the last one I've been involved in is Beef, which is I don't know if that's new. I think it must be new. I'm not sure if that's an Apple TV show as well. Maybe Apple kicking some ass this year.
They've got the Masters of the Air as well, haven't they? Which is coming out soon.
Well, I mean, they're just throwing money at the fucking situation. Is really it's a set of values and money. That's really what it is. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Didn't they do a Foundation TV series as well recently? Foundation,
yes.
as in
that's Dune, right?
Asimov.
Oh yeah. Yes, there is a Dune TV show that I think is from them, right?
It's called Foundation.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. There you go.
Not Dune.
But it's like, isn't it
Dune-ish?
Dune-ish, yeah. Dune-ish.
Dune and Foundation.
Downish?
The fucking the Dune 2
Foundation.
is out soon, by the way.
Yeah.
This month.
Oh, and Curb season 12 is out too.
I'm shitting the fucking bed about that one, that it's gonna fuck up, because the first one was fucking good, and they
if by good you mean boring as fuck.
Hey. all sequels are better.
You're wrong, Noel, but it's okay that you're wrong.
It's the last season of Curb, bro.
I know. I haven't backed up. I'm just kind of waiting until they get a little bit farther, and then I'll start blowing through them. But I know it is the last season of Curb. Is it? I know they announced that, but is it? Do you think that's actually going to happen, or like maybe they'll just?
I think
like,
yeah.
He always says that though. He's like, I have no more stories than what he done.
Like 10 times.
I know. Yeah, because I was like, I have no more stories, but he said that in the Seinfeld days as well. So
yeah. I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't.
Well,
It's so funny.
He deserves retirement, you know.
What would he do though?
I guess.
He's going to do the same shit, annoy people and play golf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might as well do it and record it.
Wait, annoy people play golf? Isn't that what you do?
No, I just annoy people.
Live in their couch and shit.
Like I've got golf clubs.
I was going to say there are golf clubs behind you. I'm pretty sure that looks a lot like golf clubs.
Yeah, I've got a lot of balls.
Are you bringing those?
I like. I buy balls all the time just because I
You gotta
lose
ship
so
those.
many.
Why don't you ship those to Austin?
Aston.
Aston.
What you reckon we can play golf in Aston?
I don't know. I am starting to pull together. I do have some other barbecue things that we should discuss. We got to plan our barbecue like schedule.
Do we?